Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're back with another Neurodiversity story, and I'm your host. My name's Darren Clark. So, guys, a massive thank you to everyone that has been a guest for my previous shows, and we have another phenomenal guest. We have Dann Casswell, who I've been watching his content and his team's content for quite some time now. So I'm absolutely delighted that he has given up his time, his busy schedule today, to come and join us to have a conversation around neurodiversity and also the amazing work that he's doing as well within his company. We're going to be doing things a little bit different today. We're going to be speaking to Dann, and we're also going to be putting some videos out to showcase some of the amazing work that he's been doing. And then we're going to be talking about this. This is, I'm really excited to see. To give you an idea of this, guys, I've kind of consumed his entire website over the past couple of days, literally just kind of absorbing everything he's doing. As someone who's really interested in animation and design and everything, it's been a joy to see. But guys, also, as well, we can't do this without you guys watching. So please do let us know where you're tuning in from, and feel free to pop it in the comments. And you never know, feel free to connect with the other people that are telling you where they're from as well. So, guys, like I said, we have another Neurodiversity Stories. The reason why we do this is purely to spread more awareness around neurodiversity, to share people's stories, and hopefully with you guys sharing this out to your connections, we can then raise more and more awareness around neurodiversity. And wouldn't that be an amazing thing? So what do I do? So my name is Darren Clark, and I'm a global neurodiversity consultant. I work with organizations across the globe to make them more awareness around neurodiversity with teaching, training, and consulting. Guys, I also want to say a massive thank you to our sponsors, Touch, Type, Read and Spell. I just want to show you something like this. So guys, Touch, Type, Read and Spell, thank you so much indeed for sponsoring our Neurodiversity Stories. We're absolutely thrilled to have you. Touch, Type, Read and Spell are an award-winning multi-sensory course that teaches typing, reading and spelling. They do phenomenal work around dyslexia as well, so please do check them out. All of their details are all in the blurbs. And if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on the podcast, then please do check out the blurb and you'll be able to find all the details for them. So guys, as I said before, let us know where you're tuning in from. It's always great to have your support. If you have any questions throughout this, and please pop them in the chat, any comments that you'd like to share as well. And what I want to do now is I want to introduce you to Dann. Dann Casswell is an incredible individual doing phenomenal work, and I want to introduce you to Dann. Good morning, Dann. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. Hi, yeah, not too bad this morning. Very humbled by your intro. I'm not sure I deserve all those plaudits, but yeah.
No, Dann, honestly, I do mean it in that sense that you're doing incredible work, and I've been watching the content that you've been putting out, so it's a real joy to see. But Dann, I'm a massive fan of you and what you guys do. It'd be amazing if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and just letting the listeners know just a little bit about you, and then
sure.
Kind of delve in. That'd be great.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of I've always wanted to, I think my ambition has always been to be part of a creative team and running small creative projects and just making beautiful things. And I think every kind of step I've taken in my career has been to try to get to that point. And I kind of ended up finding myself there by accident. Although, kind of like it was always in the back of my mind. And it was a bit of a circuitous route. So started with doing creative writing and sociology at university, and then moving on to an MA in script writing. And then I kind of lucked my way into a job at the BBC, working in local radio. I was on Radio Bristol for a little while. And then that was a really difficult time, actually, because it was like I had my foot in the door and I knew where I wanted to be. But at the same time, progression was really, really difficult. And particularly in terms of dyslexia, like I had problems with like interviews. I've faced like some weird, just odd discrimination around it. A lot of disbelief that it was a real thing. And that was kind of interesting. So eventually I kind of found my way out of local radio and ended up in Children in Need, which was really great. And I kind of found a love of socially conscious work, of helping people, of being part of something good. And that became something that just was really important to me. But I still had this drive to create. And at that time, I was just kind of administering grant money to charities around the Southwest. So I started volunteering for the outreach programs in the BBC.
Yep.
And basically what they are is they help people from kind of inside the ivory tower of the BBC get out into the community and meet real people on the ground. And also they give people from, marginalized groups and like schools that are in special measures and stuff like that, the chance to experience creative careers. So we used to run something called the Talent Ticket Roadshow, and we would like work with the guys from Aardman and make animations with the kids, and I was really enjoying it, and I was making things, so I got to make like music videos and stuff for the St. Paul's Carnival, and
wow.
I was really enjoying that job, but at the same time it was a very tenuous job. like it was always a nice to have.
Yeah. Was there a lot of kind of time pressures then within that?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, no, we had to do things quickly. A lot of the stuff that some of the stuff that was most difficult was resistance from community groups. So like there was a lot of suspicion about the BBC coming in and trying to take over, and they were always worried that we weren't going to include people enough. So a lot of my job was actually just kind of working with community groups to make sure that their voices were heard, and being very, very patient with some people who were really angry before they even got in the room or heard anything that we had to say.
I guess it's that way, isn't it? It's their passion and they want to be shown in the right light and want to be heard. And I guess when we say a company like the BBC, we see it's just this ginormous global organization.
It's funny because when you're on the inside, you realize how everything is held together with sellotape and bits of string, but from the outside, it all looks like really slick. And like I often think when people are talking about like conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff, it's like, I'm sure if you saw the inside, if you saw how the cake was made, you'd understand that these people are just peddling to stay afloat. Like they don't have time for big conspiracy theories.
Do you think that's because the sheer, the enormous pressure must be, I'm not saying I feel sorry for the BBC, the enormous pressure and the reputation that they have whenever they do something is, and like you said, is enormous.
100%. I mean, it was a really good education in terms of hitting deadlines and making stuff happen, especially in Radio Bristol. We had about as much time to produce radio as the radio's on all the time. So we're basically making it in real time. Like you've got like an hour to make an hour's worth of radio. And like, I would come in the morning and they would be like, right, we need to find like 5 people to talk about this subject, and I would just be scouring the internet and phoning up community interest groups and just being like, can you talk now?
Really? I mean,
like a
it's
sport.
funny you say that, Dan, because I've spoken on a BBC Radio 2 and a few things around dyslexia and neurodiversity and a few different radio channels, and it does seem I always find it a little bit nerve-wracking because it's kind of it's kind of lastminute.com, and then it's right, you're on, and then it's thank you, and then you're almost putting like in a green room or something else, and then it's.
I tell you what's different to what I do now is that when you finished a piece of radio, it was done, it was over. No one was ever going to hear it again, and if it went badly, if it went well, brilliant. Like it didn't really matter. It was all gone. And we definitely had some shows that went really badly. So it's like, but what I love about making films is that you have a chance to make a perfect moment. Like, you know, in life, you know, there are times when you wish you'd said something, or you come up with the perfect one-liner a day late, you know. And life is like that. Whereas when you make films, you can go back and rewrite. You can go back and change it. You can create in these short moments just a little bit of perfection. And that really appeals to the control freak in me.
Do you know what, Dan? I was going to say this because you know, looking at the work that you do and the history that you have within this industry, you know, I think it goes without, you know, it's obvious to see how perfected it is. And again, we only see the finished piece, the finished article on the website or the stuff that you put out, you know, and only someone that's in that industry knows how much kind of blood, sweat and tears went into that.
Yeah.
So I guess now that you're able to kind of, and don't get me wrong, just because you can have a little bit of time to perfect it doesn't mean that it makes it any easier. But that element of perfection must make you feel like you're kind of giving everything that you can to it. Because you've got the time allowed to it. I mean, I write pretty much all of our animations. I've tried bringing in other writers, but I don't find that they are able to do it quite right. And we're always working with live ammunition, so it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like I can't give them that much time, and I've tried it a few times. But I think one of the reasons I love the job is the jobs that I get to do. Yes. So it's the things that I get to find out and the variety of different information. And I think one of the ones I'm most proud of is the dementia one that we did. That was the first one. The first one that I saw when I was scrolling through the website, and it was really, really powerful. What I'm going to do, Dan, is I've got some the videos. I'd love to be able to share this one to the viewers, and then maybe we can have a little bit of a chat about it afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Fantastic. So, guys, I'm just going to share with you one of Dan's incredible videos. So sit back and enjoy.
You may hear people use lots of different words for dementia. What they mean is that how a person thinks and how their brain works is changing.
To think, the brain uses electrical signals like a computer. With dementia, some of those signals get lost along the way. What you might see on the outside is that a person starts to forget things, or say or do things that seem a bit clumsy or odd.
They might need more time to do things like getting dressed, eating, or even getting their words out.
When someone you care about has dementia, one thing it means is that while we can do things to make them feel happier, their condition won't improve. And the way their brain works will keep on changing over time. So it's natural for you and the adults around you to feel a bit worried or sad. Don't keep it a secret. Talk to an adult you trust. You might find you are worried about something that wasn't even true. For example, dementia isn't like chickenpox. You can't catch it from someone else, and just because someone in your family has it, doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Most of the time, while the way you talk and play together will probably change, they aren't going to stop caring about you. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to have fun and spend quality time together. Often for someone with dementia, feelings and emotions are more important than words and ideas. They're happiest when they're comfortable and doing things they enjoy, like spending time with you. So think about the things they like to do. Listening to music, looking through photos. Perhaps you could try a simple version of an old hobby, or if they used to read to you, you could read to them instead.
Whatever you decide to do together, you and your family probably know more about what makes them happy than anyone else. But even with experts on the case, no one is happy all the time. And there will be days when they just need some personal space. Even if they are a bit grumpy or can't remember your name, it doesn't mean that they have forgotten who you are. It's healthy to laugh at ourselves when we make mistakes, so taking things lightly can help. Try to be as kind and forgiving as you can. Let them know who you are and what it is you are doing. Be gentle with them and reassuring. Sometimes something as simple as a hug can make all the difference. Love is a strong and powerful feeling that goes through your whole body. It's more than just an idea. It was there long before dementia came along, and it's not going anywhere now.
You know what, Dan? I know we had the conversation before because we've got a few videos that we're going to share, and I wanted to kind of. I said, you know, some of them we'll show snippets of, but that is like really, really emotional.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Whenever I'm writing anything, especially the emotional stuff, when we're working with charities, when we're working with stuff for people in vulnerable groups. It's just really important to me that I find an emotional connection in myself, that I find some experience of it. It's with that, I based it around my experiences of my grandfather who'd had dementia. And I noticed a couple of things. So we were sat in a room with all these different dementia nurses, and they were telling us about the important things and the things that kids worry about and the stuff they get teased about at school and all that stuff. We're just trying to work it all in. But the bit at the end about love being more powerful than ideas, well, for me, it was the crux of the film, because I noticed that when I was looking after my granddad, if one of his kids called and he spoke to them, an hour and a half later, he might have forgotten that who he'd spoken to on the phone, but he'd be happy all day. And it was just that little thing that made me realize that it's that if you can create a nice, happy, emotional space for somebody, then that can take them, it doesn't matter what thoughts are going on, the feelings are more important. And it was really important to me to get that into the film. And like, I always feel like the last thing that happens in a film is the most important. It's the thing that hangs in the air. So I was really happy to have a lovely client that allowed me to put some of that personality into it, because sometimes you get clients that really don't want you to do that, and they kind of take a lot more control over it. But really proud of that one. It's lovely to see it again. It had me crying. So it's like,
honestly, I was literally watching it thinking, you know, again, completely speechless, because what you've captured there, Dan, and you know, is pure emotion. You know, pure emotion, and you know, you storytelled, you know, that emotion, and you've taken someone on a journey, and it's pulled, you know, because it's relatable to so, you know, so many people as well, and you know, it just, yeah.
I think it helps having the children's voices as well. So that was working with children's always a bit tricky, because you have to get special permissions from the council, because it comes under like child labor laws. So you have to, you have to get like special permission to allow these people to do it, and then you've got to find all the actors. So for that one, we found a local drama group. And I think we ended up making like a donation to their drama group. So that was how we handled that side of it. But yeah, it was a really, really lovely project to work on. And I just find that people who are doing good things in the world are always just incredible, lovely people. I mean, some of them are so busy and so stressed that it's hard. Like they can be quite frenetic, and it can be quite chaotic.
Yes.
So we have to have really, really good structures in place to make sure the film happens on time, because making the video is never their priority.
Yes.
Like, their priority is helping people, and there's a lot of people that need help. So it's like keeping it all on track is often a challenge, but it's always worth it.
So Dan, thank you so much again for having the opportunity to share that that video. And I know we've got a couple of others that we'll be able to kind of share and talk about. I want to kind of go back a little bit, if that's okay, with regards to your own kind of dyslexia.
Sure.
What was the kind of what age were you diagnosed, or what age did you know that you diagnosed, or did you just know?
It first came up in primary school. Okay. But I didn't get a formal diagnosis, and I got some extra help. But back then, the extra help was next to useless. Like, they had me sit down and do a lot of look, cover, write. Don't know if anybody remembers that. Completely futile, basically. I'd look at the word, write it down.
What is it for? I know it's self-explanatory, but what is that? Just for people that don't aware of it, what does that look like?
It's just, so basically you'd have a word written down, you cover the word, and then you write the word out. And they would make me do that for a long time, because every single one of my school reports was like, he's incredibly verbose, he talks a lot in class, but his written work is awful. It's like, and up through secondary school, there was a weird pattern of everyone that sat next to me would go up a set. And it's because I was always really good at explaining stuff.
Yes.
And I feel like that, like I said, that's how I ended up doing what I do. Like but I think that experience of not really having any academic confidence, and actually not having a lot of confidence at all. Like, I remember thinking, I'd watch TV shows, and every kid would have their own talent, like there'd be a sporty one and an academic one and one who's, good at this and that. And I remember thinking to myself, what's mine? And I had nothing. And it was a pretty dark time. But now I think one of the reasons why I can write stuff that explains things to children, and I can write stuff that explains things to high level business people, and I can write all these different things, because I know what it's like to be the stupidest guy in the room. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, I asked a lot of stupid questions, and it took me a long time to figure out how my brain worked.
I completely get it. You just continuously asking those questions, aren't you? And people are thinking, well, why did I not just tell you this? And you're thinking, well, yes, but
yeah. Like I remember really weirdly, I couldn't get my head around how football worked. I know this sounds really odd, but like, I understood that you had to get the ball from one end of the pitch to the other. So if the ball was moving in the right direction, I would just get out of the way. And if it wasn't moving in the right direction, I would kick it as hard as I could in the right direction, and I felt like job done. And people didn't understand. People just didn't know what to do with me. Like I couldn't get my head around not grabbing it with my hands as well. Like, I would just instinctively do it. And when I was in goal, I'd try and kick it with my feet. So I just couldn't. I felt like there were just things that everybody else seemed to know, and I was learning them for the first time. And I think from that experience, and then having the opposite experience later in life of being sat down in a room and like, we're going to test your IQ now, and it's like, and having people go, wow, this is huge.
Yeah.
And then getting high level degrees and like doing really well, having the exact opposite experience. It's an odd life path, It's a really odd life path.
Because, as a child in the school, you're so trusting in the sense of, with people's views on yourself and how you're perceived as someone, and in the sense of you're given a test and everyone else is given the test. And then, the test that you put out and the results that you give back are lower than everyone else. So you do have this sense of feeling that you're inadequate, I guess.
But what was interesting is in secondary school, I was in second set maths. Everybody's going up a set 6 next to me. I couldn't make a lot of friends because they would be gone really quickly. It was really weird. But we had this kind of inter-school maths test, and it was multiple choice. So it wasn't about written work. It was just about whether or not you got the answers right. And I got like one of the highest marks in the county. And they were like, why are you in the second set?
Why?
It's a kind of interesting way. I was like, I don't know.
Like you had all the answers. Like, yeah, well, actually, it's for this reason. You know, I have no control. This is, you know, where I have to stay.
And I think they were a bit embarrassed by that. And I've had other times later on when I was doing my A-levels, and I took another IQ test, and I think it was about having extra time in my exams, which I also didn't use. I didn't really understand how to use it. I think doing written exams, I would write everything I want to write, and then it's like, well, I can't go back and correct it. Like, what do you want me to do?
You're so right. I find because that's kind of the normal thing. They say, well, actually, you know, if a student with neurodiversity, in a sense of dyslexia or something, that we will allow extra time, you know, during the exam to be able to, you know, read the question. I would have found, I mean, I wasn't put for any exams through school. I was kind of segregated anyway, because they just didn't really know what to do with me. But had they have put me in a hall with exam paper conditions and then said, actually, you're going to be staying here longer than everyone else.
Yeah, to punish
I would have found that extra time even more stressful. You know, 10 minutes in that environment would have been stressful for me, not an extra half an hour. I understand why those kind of things are put in place, but they don't suit every individual.
What made the difference was when I went to university, they let me use computers in exams, and that made a huge difference. And I went from, I mean, my A-levels are like 2 Ds and an E or something to like a double first and a distinction MA. It was like, but also I waited a little bit longer. I didn't go to university till I was 25.
Yeah.
And partly I think they probably wouldn't have let me in if I hadn't been a mature student because my grades weren't good enough. But it's really, and like, it was interesting at A-level when they did test my IQ, the teacher who did it, the person who did it was telling me it was really high the whole way through, but the teacher was so resentful that I wasn't handing in good work. And I do think they felt like it's their own fault. They wouldn't tell me what the score was.
Yeah.
There's a very odd thing in education of like, what do you do with these smart kids, but you've got no way of proving it to an examiner? Like,
It really is, isn't it? I mean, I understand, and I've said this. You know, we've had incredible people. We've got teachers on these stories as well, and I understand how difficult, you know, the teaching element is. And my heart goes out in the sense of how difficult it is. But like you said, every child is unique. Every child is different, and when you do have a child that excels in this side, but you know, actually statistically, the normal tests they don't. Yeah. It is difficult. You know, where do you put them? Do you put them up a class, down a class? Where do you put them?
One thing that really helped was at university. I got a dyslexia tutor who would sit with me, and we learned a lot of like the etymology of words. So like where they came from, and like which words were French and which words were Greek and which words were like, and that it started to make a bit more sense to me. Really? And also understanding about schwas in words, and so like a classic one is like, how do you spell necessary? And a non-dyslexic person will tell you about how many C's there are and S's, and to be fair, I've got no idea, but like,
to be there, Dan. I was getting a bit nervous. I don't
know. But a dyslexic person's going to be saying, well, is it necessary, asari, e-sari? Like it's because of the so many different ways you can pronounce those tricky vowels.
Yes.
And then all the French words where they just chuck in vowels for fun. I don't know why they do it.
That word needs a couple more vowels. You know, it's like an episode of Dann, isn't it?
But, and I have like loads of weird ways of pronouncing words in my head just to help me spell them, like beautiful.
I completely get it. I do exactly the same. I kind of, but it's almost, you know, that kind of, you said about, you know, the looking and then hiding and then, you know, writing and things. You know, my short-term, my dyslexia and my ADHD, I have a short-term, you know, memory in the sense. So it's very difficult. You know, as soon as that word is covered, it's gone. I mean, it is covered. So to be able to do that, and I could write. I mean, I love writing, absolutely love writing. I mean, when I look back on it, you know, I've got more red underlines than ever. And, you know, sometimes it's like trying to, you know, go through kind of a foreign language, so to speak, to try and decipher what it actually says. But I actually, you know, I love those. But the same word. I could write the same word, go
Yeah.
into a sentence, then write another word, and then I still have trouble spelling it. It's like a complete block.
Yeah, I can spell the same word 4 times in different ways on the same page, and partly that's because I assign an emotion to what I'm writing. And I think the title of this talk is why I think being dyslexic actually makes me a better writer, is because I feel while I'm writing, and I hear it in my head while I'm writing, and I hear the emotion that I'm going to put into those words. But like a different emotion will have a different spelling.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, because it has a slightly different pronunciation, and it's like I used to assign characters to, I just gave, it's hard to put my finger on, but this is going to sound really pretentious, but I have a personal relationship with different words, like they so the sound of them and the poetry of them is really, really important to me, and where they are can mean that they'll come out in a different way, because they're almost coming out of a different place in my brain.
Absolutely. I love the English language in the sense that, I love listening, I can listen to Stephen Fry forever, and even, Russell Brand in the sense of, the word. I love when people use, not everyday words and all these big words. And I love trying to, I think of the word and I'm trying to write it in a blog or something that I'm trying to do. And then I'm kind of, and spell check, just don't get it at all. So then I'm having to kind of
better. If I can't spell something, I'll Google it, and usually that's better.
That is definitely something I'm going to take from this and start doing. I'm taking away some of the words that I want to use to express myself when I'm writing, and I'm kind of downplaying the words to make it more simpler. But really, I want to invoke that emotion in what I'm writing by using those, that terminology. If that makes sense.
It does.
I just want to share. It's come up LinkedIn user, so please feel free to share your names. Probably we might not be connected, or it's just so. This was someone who just said. I think this was just around what you were saying. The looking right. And Samantha Hugh, she says using a tablet is one of the accommodations they give children with SEN in specialist schools. Thank you so much for sharing that, Samantha, as well. And like you said, it was why we should be using really the kind of the tools and the technology around us to help in kind of assist within this. Dan, I want to touch on another video if that's okay. The one around kind of diversity, if that's
100%.
If that's okay. So what I'll do is I'll play this. I'm going to play this video, guys, and then Dan and I will have a little chat about it afterwards.
In the world of television and media, we are at a crossroads. We have a golden opportunity to enrich the programs we make, to incorporate new perspectives, and to access an as yet untapped resource of drive, determination, and talent. In short, to become disability inclusive. Right now, 17% of the UK workforce identifies as disabled. Within UK television, in off-screen roles, it's only 4.5%. This is why the UK broadcasters have committed to doubling that number by the end of 2020. Since 2018, Doubling Disability has been researching what our industry is doing well and what we can do better. While good work is taking place, it's often one-off initiatives happening in isolation. Successes go under-celebrated and subsequent learnings go unshared and have to be learnt again. Most non-disabled people don't know enough about disability. They worry they'll say or do the wrong thing. This nervousness can become a subconscious barrier to the kind of friendship and network building that most non-disabled professionals take for granted, meaning even those disabled staff who are employed are frequently disadvantaged. All of these barriers can be broken down, and there are tools, initiatives, and organisations already available to help. The Doubling Disability Report recommends that we work more closely and bring together more disparate production companies and corporations through bridge organisations like the CDN. It recommends that we make adjustments to everyday working practices, update recruitment processes, and make positive changes in how we support existing disabled talent. The UK TV industry values original ideas and unique perspectives above all else, which is why it's time for us to come together to find, to foster, and to celebrate diversity in all its forms, and bring into the foreground the as yet unheard voices of talented disabled professionals.
Dan, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Darren, go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Dan. Thank you.
Not as emotional as the other one, but very, very different target audience. So rather than looking at young people who are worried about someone with dementia, this is looking at TV executives and asking them, what are you doing? What's going on? You know, it's interesting because a lot of the stuff from that film was based on my own experiences of work of being in with well, I don't know if I can count it as a disability because I love being dyslexic so much, but I do recognize that feeling of people not really, like when they knew that I'd been hired based on a disability program, that I was dyslexic, when there were issues around me reading things out loud. People were worried that they could say the wrong thing, and it did mean that friendships were a little bit more difficult. But also that script was based on another script that we wrote for another organization that was about racial disability.
Okay.
And they had asked someone within their organization who'd experienced it firsthand to work on a film. And they were like, you can say whatever you want. And we made this film, and it talked all about that kind of that soft disability or that soft discrimination of not having natural friendships because people are just a little bit wary that they might say the wrong thing, or that it could affect their career, or that I think people would worry that I would be kind of militantly with a disability, you know, like get them in trouble and write them up and all that kind of stuff. So we worked on this script together and we wrote it, and it was really quite a powerful one. And then we played it to somebody higher up in the organization, and they said no. And they were like, no, we can't say this. It makes us look too bad. It doesn't put us in a positive light. So it's like, and that project got cancelled. So I was really, really happy to be able to bring some of that knowledge from that project into this film. And I think sometimes when you put a lot of love and work into something and it doesn't happen, it's always worth putting it in a drawer, because you never know when that's going to be useful for something else. Yeah, and that one's actually been updated because the targets got put back a year because everybody got COVID. So it's now 2022, I think, instead of 2021. Yeah.
But Dan, what I take from, we talk about, disability in those aspects. And again, numerous people I speak to around kind of dyslexia, some people's, is perceived, it's a superpower, and some people don't want to kind of class it as, a disability. Yet, if we were to look at actual dyslexia in the sense that, say, we were looking to get, extra help and support, they would have to, with the diagnosis, have to go down, and the disability route, so to speak, throughout that. And again, I know some people don't feel that it is, a disability. There's definitely things that I'm not good at. And when I was given my diagnosis in university, and they were like, I viewed it as a list of things that I needed to work on. And it's like, I don't think a lot of people in the world get given a list of, well, here's the things you're not good at. But I wasn't going to take that as I'll never be good at these things. Yes. So for instance, I worked hard on what I could do. And one of the things that happened when I was in radio is presenters would give me a script to read,
and then I'd read it and I would read it wrong. Partly because I was re-editing it while I was reading it.
That perfectionism.
And partly because sometimes I see a word and it's not the same word as is actually there. And presenters would get really angry with me. So I sat down and I read novels out loud to my wife until I could read and it sound read out loud and it sound natural. So it was like, I'm just going to practice this because I know that it's a skill and I know that I'm not good at it. But that doesn't mean that if I don't put in the practice, I can keep all the benefits of being dyslexic. I can keep the different perspective. I can keep the creative drive. I can keep the unusual aspects of it, and I can also have a passable level at everything else. But if I just work harder on these things, so these days I really don't class it as a disability. Almost everyone I work with is also dyslexic, which is really interesting. Like, we have to hire outside people who aren't artists and writers to watch our films before we send them to clients, just to make sure that we haven't spelled stuff wrong. Spelling mistakes is the number one thing that we have to fix, because almost all of our artists are dyslexic. Our editors are dyslexic. I think there's a statistic somewhere that says there's 2 places where you find lots and lots of dyslexic people. One is in art college and the other one is in prison.
Yeah.
So,
do you know what, Dan? And hopefully I've got a guest coming on, and we're going to be talking excuse me, in the future around kind of dyslexia within the prison service, because it is, statistically it's very high and we do know statistically there are a lot of people in there with neurodiversity, with dyslexia and that. So I can completely I'm interested to learn more about this, and the people that are doing some amazing things within this to kind of help prison service. But yeah, I mean, it's sad and quite shocking, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sad and shocking, but I like that a lot of them find their way into art college too. So it's
but, we tend to focus, whenever I'm speaking to someone about my dyslexia or my ADHD, it always seems like I wouldn't say kind of apologize for things, but we focus more on the kind of what we can't do, in the sense of it's almost apologetic, isn't it? Well, I'm not very good at that, I'm not very good at this. Rather than bringing, and it's refreshing when we're able to kind of excel and say, when I'm, thinking, design, animation, creativity, videoing, all these things, you flourish on. But it does seem to be the other way around, isn't it? What you can't do, and then turn around to the...
I think, so what somebody told me about dyslexia once, and I don't know if the science behind this is 100% correct, because it's been a while since I've probably looked into it. But one of the things I've heard is that it's about, we have much longer synaptic connections in the brain, and that those connections go from the left to the right and from the right to the left to more of a degree than they do in somebody who's neurotypical. And that it takes us a really long time for us to make sense of that. And I think that my own experience of being a child and the world really not making any sense at all, and then getting older in life and just suddenly pieces of it all fit together.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand how my city worked. I couldn't get from I understand that you get in a car and then they take you somewhere else, and it felt like a completely different place. But the idea of then being able to walk there, even if it wasn't very far, it was like these blank spaces in my mind.
Yeah.
But later on, they all kind of come and fit together, and those bits of my brain just started to work, but it just took a little bit longer.
I love that analogy, Dan, and I completely get it. Where you come. I used to find it strange, when, like you said, when you're sat in a car and you're moving really fast, but you can sort of move around freely and out, going at this supersonic speed, and you can just walk around and move. I just couldn't, no matter how many times someone explained this to me, I just couldn't compute it. But if I was outside this window, what would I be able to do? No, you wouldn't. But how can I do this? Well, and people would just say, well, because you're in a car. And I'm like, well, that doesn't answer the question, and it's
we can get into it if you want. The thing is, I think I'm one of those people that gets drawn to those blank spaces in my brain. Like if I don't get something, I remember getting really angry at school because the teacher could not adequately explain to me how gravity works. And because can you imagine being the teacher and there's this kid, yeah, but why do these things attract each other?
Explain gravity. I want gravity.
Yeah. And I've had to read a bunch of books and watch a lot of TV shows to have a basic idea about how gravity works. So I now feel a bit sorry for those teachers.
Did you get the apple and just drop the apple and down on this?
But I think with those connections going all the way through the brain, I think that's why we're able to live inside of things, and our imaginations are so vivid and colorful. And although my imagination weirdly isn't colorful, but that's a different thing. But yeah, so and make connections between things that people don't necessarily make. So I think a lot of the times a really good explanation is about finding the right example that gives people something they can cling on to in the real world, something solid and factual that they can build on.
And I think that helps. I'm a very visual person, and I'm sure you are as well, Dan. From what you do in those things. So a lot of things for me have to be kind of explained visually or hands-on, or trying to do those those things. So I think rather than kind of the textbook element of it, the visual. I mean, I tend to learn. YouTube for me is phenomenal in the sense that if I'm looking to do anything, I will watch a video. And I'll educate what the video is, and I'll learn, from a new skill, from all these different things. Rather than, if someone was to say, read this, and this is what the instructions element. I find those that side of
learning. I've had a hard time with that, but yeah. So one of the things that inspired the work that I do now is I really loved those kind of for beginners books, which always had little cartoons and little stories. And like I said, I've always been drawn to stuff that I don't understand. So I read a lot of those, and I just found them so much more accessible. And I find that if you make information accessible to neurodiverse people, you make information accessible to everyone. It just makes it easier for everybody to take it in. And it's one of the, I love my job. Because I get to do things. And I get to explain things, and I get to learn things, and I get to do it in a way that would have made sense to me when I was 12 years old.
I get it. I love the simplicity of things as well. And for instance, whenever I openly share this, I'm happy with this, but when I'm doing cooking, so if I'm learning cooking, I actually work off of children's cookbooks, which basically means that everyone just has cheesy pasta and brownies, but it's because the actual book is written in like a form for easy explanations. If I was to open up a Delia Smith cookbook or something, I mean, I'm just picking that name out, or Jamie Oliver or something, I can imagine it would just be really kind of text heavy and all these different things, and I would get overwhelmed with this. This is just quite a simple way of doing it, so I move towards the more simple element.
Don't think there's any shame in that, man. Like I think with cooking, oh man, I love cooking as well. But like I think once you learn a few elements, then you're just free to do whatever you want. Like
you can experiment.
I feel like get a recipe down and then start messing with it. that's how I roll. But
Dan, we're coming up to the end of our time. There are a few more videos which I will put out as a link onto this live, and also when we upload this to YouTube, put the links as well on so people can see out, because I know there was an incredible one with the NHS and a few others as well. But all the links will be up there for people to see. Dan, if anyone wants to connect with you or get in contact with you, how do they do that, Dan?
I'm on LinkedIn. So I think I'm on LinkedIn, and I think it's like LinkedIn/Bristol Animation. Or you can find us on our website, www.ccanimationstudio.co.uk. And feel free to drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. Rates are very reasonable because a lot of our stuff is for charity, and and social care. And if you want to work for charities and social care, you can't charge a lot of money because they don't have a lot of money. So
well, you guys are doing an incredible work, and I would definitely be recommending you from the rooftops to all of my connections and far on between. Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for giving up your time today.
I really appreciate being invited. It's been absolutely lovely. Cheers. Thanks, Darren.
Bless you. Have an amazing rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of the sunshine before the thunderstorms come this weekend. And I will catch you very soon, Dan. Take care, my friend.
Right. Speak
Cheers.
to you soon, Darren.
So guys, that was Dan. I hope you enjoyed that just as much as I did. Absolute phenomenal individual, great guy, doing phenomenal work as well. I will share the links out as well, guys, so you can see the rest of the videos. We've actually got loads that we'd love to be able to show you, but we are a little bit kind of out of time. So guys, we'll be back next Friday with another guest. Thank you so much, everyone that joins the live. If you're watching and commenting, if you're watching on the replay, again, feel free to drop a comment or a question and we will get back to you. Take care, guys, and we'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.